Now, I know Halloween has just passed, but I wanted to talk about something a little spooky today. Uh, or maybe spooky might be a bit of an overstatement considering what we're about to actually watch today. Now, when you think of horror, you're probably thinking something like Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, maybe even Insidious, maybe even a little bit of paranormal activity. But for today, we are going to turn our attention to YouTube. The content we're going to be looking at today is called analog horror. Now, in case you don't know, analog horror is basically a series on YouTube. Many channels have done this, by the way. It's basically a horror series on YouTube in a VHS style format. And they basically aim to tell a very compelling story of a very creepy event, whether that be like, for example, like a serial killer or something, or maybe they'll tell the story of like a very unusual event, like supernatural event. Now, to list a couple of examples here, a couple of channels that do this really well, in my opinion, called Alex Kister and Martin Walls. Alex Kister makes this series called The Mandela Catalogue, which tells the story of these strange supernatural creatures that can shapeshift into people. And Martin Walls makes like a Five Nights at Freddy's kind of story with its own original story, its own original concept and all that. They are really good, and I recommend you go watch their stuff right now. But unfortunately, the same can't really be said for a little channel called Urban Spook. Now, Urban Spook started his analog horror series back in November of 2022, and he's been making them ever since. The last video he made, I believe, was like a month ago. I haven't seen him upload since. I don't know if he's going to make more or if he's just stopped now, considering all the backlash he got from this series. So let's get started. Now, Urban Spook makes these VHS style videos, much like all the other analog horrors, but he has a certain formula to these videos, and it's gone to the point where it's just become very tiring and lazy. And this formula is basically he has a black screen, he puts up some creepy images and puts some white text on the screen there detailing the events and the story of the series, which is what a lot of other analog horror series does, but most of the ones I've seen only use it like once or twice, so I don't really mind it that much. But for some reason, Urban Spook just doesn't want to, I don't know, like branch out and explore other means of editing. Now, from what I've gathered, the story that he's trying to set up here, even though there's literally no story at all, I'm not even joking on that, the story basically follows a serial killer or killers called the Painters, and basically they go around committing very, very brutal murders, and they leave these paintings behind of their victims. Now, that does sound like a very cool concept, but the way Urban Spook has done it here is just, well, it's not good. Really not good. But of course, he did have a fair few supporters for a while. I did look at his comments and found that there are some people that are like supporting him and theorizing on what happens next and all that. But that all came apart when people started to realize that this series is just a little bit too disturbing. Now, granted, I love me some gore, I love me some some blood. I love all of that. I watch a lot of slasher movies. But in his third video in this series, called In the Walls, he basically tells the story of two young children, twins, I think, that went missing, and well, to say that people did not like the way he depicted these kids' death, it would be an understatement. Now, a trigger warning for extreme depictions of murder and maybe a bit of pedophilia. I don't really know how else to put it. So, to give you a basic rundown of this description, basically the upper body of the girl and the lower body of the boy was sewn together, and there's another thing where the boy's crown jewels, if you know what I mean, have been ripped off by force. And the girl had a brick shoved down her throat, which, first of all, how on earth is that even possible? And second of all, what the actual fuck is this? Like, the way he had these kids die is just very unrealistic and unnecessary. Now, what makes this even worse is that in his very first video, there's this painting called, and I quote, "Fuck Toy Corey." And you want to know who else's name is Corey? The little boy that was brutally murdered in this story. So not only do we have a little child who has been brutally taken from his world, but we also have paedophilia now. Now, I'm not saying Urban Spook is into any of that, but still, it's just so disgusting. Now, after that, he kept making the videos, and they're still being very extremely gory and extremely unrealistic. I'm sorry I keep saying that, but it has to be said. Another one that was really disgusting was basically this scenario where a horse was drugged up on Viagra, which, if you know what that is, you know what that is, and the horse raped a woman. Another one was where a guy was buried in wax or something like that. In case you haven't gathered already, this guy just relies purely on shock value instead of, I don't know, writing and compelling story or writing like good memorable characters. Just video after video after video, just people dying in the most absurd, brutal ways imaginable. So eventually people start to tear this series to shreds. People are not liking this at all, and eventually big YouTubers decide to cover the topic and tell their opinions, saying how bad it was, and they even took to Twitter as well. And Urban Spook did have an account. He went by Urban Slug, and he responded to one of these creators in a very nice way, actually. It was very surprising. He responded very positively to it. Nah, just kidding. He went on a total meltdown. He said, and I quote, "You're such a fucking pussy. Just because extreme horror doesn't fit into your little autistic furry horror taste doesn't mean that there isn't a place for it. Use your platform to talk about things you like instead of shitting on actual creators. Cunt." Wow, he really had to add the extra blow there, didn't he? Okay, first of all, as an autistic person myself, fuck you, man. And second of all, I'm assuming by furry horror taste, he's talking about things like Five Nights at Freddy's. So yeah, what we've learned today is that this guy makes terrible analog horror, and he does not take to criticism well. Really, you should be taking criticism and improving yourself. If people don't like what you're doing with something, then you have to improve it. But no, of course, Urban Spook thinks his dick's big just because he thinks he's done something that nobody else has done before. When in reality, it's just repetitive and lazy, and he really needs to improve both as a person and as a content creator. But if you're even considering just for 1 second, please do not go send hate to this guy. It's just unneeded. I just wanted to get this out there, and I needed a video for today, so here we are. Anyway, that's gonna be me done for today. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, tell me what you thought about it. Let me know what I could improve on. Let me know all that good stuff. And yep, that'll be it for today. I hope I see you for another video. Peace out.